My name is Vandita, and I'm originally from India, but I have been living and working in Australia because I completed my master's from Australia. And right now I'm working on holistic and biophilic and sustainable design, and I'm researching and writing about that. It's more of a research work than writing work at the moment. So that's what I'm doing right now.
So I found you from your Instagram page and I loved some of the illustrations and things that you were doing. And then I got your questionnaire and I'm really intrigued about your responses about holistic and functional design.
So the Instagram account I started was just to experiment with graphics and illustrations that I was doing during my
Mm-hmm.
studies.
Yep.
So I just wanted to like experiment with that, and the idea was to kind of tell short stories about spaces and experiences with these illustrations. But then I realized that it's very time consuming to make these illustrations, and that's why you could see that I have not posted anything recently. So I was thinking of different options how I could, help people with designing spaces in a holistic way. And then, of course, I finished my studies and then I got busy with some other things and with work and everything else. So right now I'm working on my blog, which is about biophilic and sustainable living. So it's about holistic design as well. So how you can design spaces with different design elements to achieve a holistic living experience in your personal spaces, because a lot of people are working from home after the pandemic, and we need to redesign our spaces for multifunctional purposes these days. So how you could achieve that, and yeah, illustrations were the starting point for me to like discover so many different aspects that of architecture that you could, study and tell people about.
How long ago did you graduate and are you working in the workforce right now?
I graduated in 2021, and I've been working in the industry since then. I'm currently working in an architecture firm.
Awesome. So at your architecture firm, do you get to study some of the interesting things that you're writing about in your blog?
Not really, but because it's more of like a mixed business model. It's not completely core architecture that I'm working at right now. My boss, he deals with architecture consultancy, and he specializes in giving consultancy for fenestrations in your houses. That's the sustainable aspect of architecture that I'm studying in my work, but it's not completely
Mhm.
design of like holistic spaces and things like that. So this is something that I'm really interested in. So I'm just researching on my own and doing my own stuff because you can't learn everything at work these
Yeah,
days.
exactly. Is your blog public right now, or are you still building out some of the research?
Yes, it's public right now, but I'm still working on it. I'm still improvising it every day because it's becoming a bit difficult to manage with work and everything. But yeah, it's public right now.
So, how did you discover that holistic and functional design was your passion? Like, was there something that a specific project that you found that inspired you? How did you figure out that that was what you were passionate about?
So I have always been like passionate about like sustainable and biophilic design during my studies. And of course you study about all these things in your bachelor's and in your master's. I did my thesis on modular housing. It was on an urban scale, but it was about sustainability was core aspect of my design project, of my design dissertation in my master's. So that's how I came across a lot of different terms. And I was thinking about how could people design spaces that could help them live a conscious life rather than something that, I mean, small things in your home design. If you just change small aspects of your design, of your home design, it could drastically change a lot of things for you. It could make you more organized, or it could increase your productivity, at home or if you're working from home. So all these small things, I wanted to dive deeper into that. How could you achieve that? That's how, I mean, it was something that I pondered upon for a while, and I came across this term and I started researching about that. And I thought that it is worth giving, looking more into. I mean, I'm still exploring. I'm not saying that that's the final thing that I'll be focusing on, because I might come across something more useful and something more, efficient rather than just holistic living. So I'm still exploring, I would say.
I feel like that's a huge part of the process once you graduate is figuring out and exploring all the different facets of architecture and really figuring out like what you're most passionate about because there's so many different branches that you could go off into.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, I think everyone should explore, because architecture is such a field which you can connect with pretty much everything. You can
Mm-hmm.
connect it with art, you can connect it with, and these days we have the development of AI, so you can even like branch into those fields, like technical fields, if someone's interested into that. So there's so many things to do, and
Mm-hmm.
you could like just focus on one thing and you could keep studying about it. There's so much information out there about all these things, so it's quite interesting. And I really like to like research and read about different things. So I think it's important to stay updated in this industry, because you might find something that something very interesting, or something that you would really get passionate about later on.
Yeah. So you were saying that there's certain ways you can improve your house to make it easier for someone to function in it. Do you have any examples on something someone could do to easily improve their house?
I have a blog post on my website about the book Atomic Habits. So the
Mm-hmm.
book Atomic Habits by James Clear. So he has mentioned just a small part of that. There's just a small part on like environmental design in his book. So the book is basically about productivity, and it's about actually building good habits. How could you develop good habits cue by cue?
Mm-hmm.
And it's a quite step-by-step process that you could follow to achieve that. There's just a small section in that book about environmental design, like how you could design your environment to help you develop good habits. I wanted to connect that with design, so I've like given like 15 design ideas in that blog post, which is related to environmental design, that you could make small changes in your like home workspace to achieve productivity at work, productivity working from home. So like small things like just having a dedicated space for your work, because sometimes people just like to work from their bed or from their couch or from their living room. So
Mm-hmm.
even if you have like a small house, and if you have a dedicated space for like just a small, maybe even if it's just a small desk and a chair, but it's if it's in a segregated section of your room or of your living space, it helps you stay more disciplined and productive, rather than you working from the bed. And then what kind of furniture do you have? Like, does it support your ergonomics? Is it ergonomically right for you or not? Just these small things. And then maybe you can just invest in sit and stand desk to keep your health in check, to keep your physical health in check, because when you spend so many hours just sitting in one place and just working on your laptop, it's not good for your physical health. So there are so many things that you can do. So there are these small things that I wrote about, and I wanted to connect that with like environmental design. So
Yeah.
yeah.
So what's the name of your blog so we can go read it?
So it's the Meraki mesh.
So are you thinking about ever talking about your blog on your Instagram page, or are you just like totally not into the content creation?
Not actually into content creation right now,
Mm-hmm.
because I'm right now just focusing on my blog. And yeah, right now I'm not, but I might like create something for Instagram
Hmm.
once I get some space and
Yeah.
time.
Yeah, it's definitely a lot when you're working a full-time job and trying to create content. It's like
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's very difficult,
yeah,
but it's worth it.
it is because you can spread your message out further when you have that. So I was just thinking about,
And you get to learn a lot of things yourself too. So,
yeah, exactly. Are you advertising your blog anywhere right now?
so I'm just using Pinterest for that at
Okay,
the moment.
interesting. Okay.
So, yeah, and it's just been a month that I have
Okay.
started it. So, like full-fledgedly,
Mm-hmm.
but I'm still like working on it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's really cool. So I am also curious about if you had any questions for me.
Yeah, so I wanted to know like what inspired you to start this Instagram page?
Yeah, so my Instagram page, I started it back in 2021, I think, and I really just wanted to help students who are experiencing this gap where you leave architecture school and then you get a job. And when you start your job, you realize that you have had no professional program training, like drafting programs. So I was able to use the drafting programs in school and I self taught myself. But when I got to practice, I didn't actually know how to use the softwares in a professional setting, or in a lot of ways, you need to be able to perform. And I also realized that we weren't taught like construction terminology. So I was inspired to create my page and I decided to mainly focus on Revit at first, just because I really love Revit and I've used that throughout my entire student career. And then that made it possible for me to get some really good jobs after school just because I had taught myself Revit. And now I really love teaching people how to use Revit. So I have some clients sometimes where they work one-on-one with me and they'll be students and they'll come with their ideas and say, this is what I'm trying to create. Do you know how to create it? And so we'll have a session and I'll walk them through exactly how to bring their idea to life to save them that time of trying to find a specific YouTube video for a specific idea that they have in their head is nearly impossible sometimes and takes so much time. So trying to just like cut that out of the process. So that was really my inspiration and that's what I've been doing. I have transitioned to a group course now that I've created where in 3 weeks we learn the foundation of Revit together and we build like a two-car garage and you learn all the tools and modeling skills that you need just so you can have confidence when you go into the workforce, even if you are still a student, just so you can develop some good habits while you're practicing in school and then you have those good habits when you go into the workforce.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah, that's a great thing because I think software skills are something that's really important in a professional setup. I think
Mm-hmm.
even more than your design skills, because in the beginning, it's just documentation work that you're given.
Mm-hmm.
And for that, you need to have like excellent software skills. And I think it develops with like practice and time. But the professional setup is so different from what we do in academics. So it can get a bit overwhelming for some,
Yep.
actually, for most of them.
I was wondering, so you said you're from India, but you're currently living in Australia. Are you using what softwares are you using in? Are they the same from India to
So
Australia?
we use Revit mostly.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's a mix of Revit, ArchiCAD, and sometimes AutoCAD as well. We use like in Australia, in they use ArchiCAD and Revit
Mm-hmm.
predominantly. In my firm, we just use like Revit and AutoCAD.
Did you find that when you started working that you experienced like were you using those softwares in school or did you have to learn?
No, I was working them in my, I was using them in my academics.
That's good.
So yeah, I was familiar with the softwares.
Mm-hmm.
So it wasn't like very difficult for me because I had taken up some courses before that. I was familiar with the softwares, I would say.
All right. Well, thank you so much for this conversation. I enjoyed it so much learning more about you and your specialty.
All right, thank you for the opportunity. And it was really nice talking to you too.